In this session, we are going to solve a few questions based on section formula for the centroid of a triangle, and also the midpoint formula. Let us take a look at the first question. Find the ratio in which the point A of -3, p divides the line segment joining x of -5, -4 and y of -2, 3. So the point A, which is -3, p, is dividing the line segment joining the points x and y. I want to first find in what ratio is it dividing, and then of course I want to find the value of p. So I can start off saying that let A divide the join of x of -5, -4 and y of -2, 3 in the ratio, say m is to n, right? That means this particular length is going to be n times the common ratio, and the length AY is going to be n times the common ratio. So because x is the first point mentioned, I would take the numerator of the ratio towards x. So that is why this is going to be m is to n. And now using section formula, I can say that using section formula, I can frame two equations now. The first equation that I can frame is using the x coordinate. So x coordinate of A is -3. So -3 is equal to n times the x coordinate of y, that is -2m, plus the x coordinate of x multiplied by n, that is -5m, divided by m plus n. This is the first equation. Of course, this equation is using the x coordinate, and the y coordinate of A is p. So p is equal to m times 3, so that's going to be 3m, plus n times -4, that is -4n upon m plus n, right? Now using the first equation, I can definitely find the ratio m is to n, because in the second equation you will notice that p is not known. So let's cross multiply. I get -3 times m plus n is equal to -2m minus 5n, and therefore -3m -3n is -2m -5n, and therefore I get 5n minus 3n is equal to 3m minus 2m, or I can say that 2n is equal to m, and therefore m by n is equal to 2, which means m is to n is 2 is to 1. Therefore, I can say that A divides the join of xy. A divides the join of xy in the ratio 2 is to 1. And now I know that the ratio is 2 is to 1. I can find the value of p. So to find the value of p, let me substitute m as 2. So it becomes 3 times 2 minus 4 times 1 divided by 2 plus 1. And that is 6 minus 4 divided by 3, and therefore p is equal to 2 upon 3. This is how I can find the value of the variable p here. So therefore p equals 2 by 3. So pausing for a minute before taking up the next one. Let's take up the next question. Let's consider the following questions. Following question. If the points A, B, C and D are the vertices of a parallelogram, find the value of the variable P. So let's make a quick diagram. So this is ABCD. It is given that ABCD is a parallelogram. So because ABCD is a parallelogram, I can use the properties of a parallelogram. So A is 6, 1, B is 8, 2, C is 9, 4 and D is P, 3. Now I need to find the value of P. So one definite idea that I can use is I can use the distance formula to find AD and I can use the distance formula to find BC. So I can say AD equals BC. That should help me find the value of P. However, there is a simpler way to solve this question using the midpoint formula. So what I can do is, I know that the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. It means that O is where the diagonals meet. So I can say that O is the point where the diagonals meet, and the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other, and therefore this means O is the midpoint of AC as well as O is the midpoint of BD, right? Therefore, I can now find the coordinates of A because I know the coordinates of A and C, and O is the midpoint of AC. Therefore, using the midpoint formula, the coordinates of O are going to be, so O is the midpoint of AC, so I can take the average of the two x coordinates, that is going to be 6 plus 9 by 2, comma the average of the y coordinates, which is 1 plus 4 upon 2. And therefore the coordinates of O are 15 by 2, comma 5 by 2. These are the coordinates of the point O. So I have found the coordinates of point O. It's 15 by 2, comma 5 by 2. Now I also know that O is the midpoint of BD. So again using the midpoint formula. So now the points that I am taking up are B and D, right? O is the midpoint of BD. So I can again use the midpoint formula. So using midpoint formula, I can say that P plus 8 upon 2 is going to be the midpoint x coordinate of the midpoint of DB, which is O. Therefore, P plus 8 by 2 is going to be 15 by 2, and 3 plus 2 by 2 is going to be 5 by 2. Now, of course, I don't need this because I need to find the value of P. But you will notice that this equation also holds true. 3 plus 2 is 5, so 5 by 2 equals 5 by 2. And now I should concentrate on this equation to find the value of P. So P plus 8 by 2 is 15 by 2, which means the value of P is equal to 7. So this is how I can find the value of P using the idea that diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. This particular concept enables me to use the midpoint formula, and that is why I can very easily find the unknowns using the midpoint formula. So this particular idea would be much simpler than using the distance formula. So again, let me pause for a minute before taking up the next one. Let's move on to the next question. The three vertices of a parallelogram taken in order are A, B and C respectively. So taken in order means I will have to draw them in the order. So what I mean by that is, consider that this is the parallelogram. So this is A of -1, 0. This is B of 3, 1. And now I have to continue going in the same order. This is C of 2, 2. And we have to find the fourth vertex of this parallelogram. So this is what we are supposed to find. The coordinates of the point D. Now again over here, I know that this is a parallelogram. So the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So I can say that ABCD is a parallelogram. ABCD is a parallelogram. And we know that the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other, which means that now I know the coordinates of A and C. So because I know the coordinates of A and C, I can find the midpoint of AC. So the midpoint of AC is O. So I can say let the diagonals intersect at O, intersect at the point O. So I can use the midpoint formula to find the coordinates of O. So I can say O is the midpoint. O is the midpoint of AC. O is the midpoint of AC, which means that the coordinates of O are going to be, I can take the average of the two coordinates, that is -1 plus 2 by 2 and 0 plus 2 upon 2. I have taken the x coordinates of A and C. I have taken the y coordinates of A and C and averaged them out. So therefore coordinates of O are 1, 2, 1. Now similarly, I also know that O is also the midpoint. O is also the midpoint of BD, and therefore using the midpoint formula, I can say using the midpoint formula, I can find the coordinates of O. So coordinates of O therefore are, now I am using the coordinates of B and D because I am considering O is the midpoint of BD. So the midpoint of BD is going to be, let the coordinates of D be x, y. So we can mention that here. Let the coordinates of D, let the coordinate of D be d of x, y. Therefore, I would write a x here and a y here. So this is going to be x, y. And therefore, the point O, the coordinates of O are going to be x plus 3 by 2. I have taken the sum of the x coordinates of D and B, y plus 1 by 2. I have taken the y coordinates of D and B. And now I know that the x coordinate of O is half. So it means x plus 3 by 2. So this implies x plus 3 by 2 should be equal to half, which implies x is equal to -2. And y plus 1 by 2 should be equal to 1, which implies y is equal to 1. And therefore, I can say that coordinates of D are the x coordinate is -2. So it should be written as x coordinate is always mentioned first. So it is going to be -2, 1. So the coordinate of the point D is -2, 1. So over here, instead of using the distance formula, I am using the midpoint formula to easily calculate all the unknowns. This property of a parallelogram that diagonals bisect each other really enables us to use the midpoint formula. So pausing for a few seconds before going to the next one. Moving on to the next question. Let us consider the following question. The coordinates of one endpoint of a diameter of a circle. So this is a circle and this is a diameter. So we know that the diameter definitely passes through the center of the circle. So it is given that the coordinates of one endpoint of the diameter, that is the point A, is 4, minus 1. And the coordinate of the center of the circle, so the center is O, of 1, minus 3. So 1, minus 3 is the center of the circle. We want to find the coordinate of the other endpoint of the diameter. So we want to find, the problem over here is to find the coordinates, of point B. To find the coordinates of point B. That is the question. So again, let the point B be. Let the point B be of x, y. So that means the coordinates of B are x, y. And again we know that the center of the circle is the midpoint of the endpoints of the diameter. So the center of the circle is the midpoint of the endpoints of the diameter. Which means that O is the midpoint. So O is the midpoint of AB. Now the coordinates of O are 1, minus 3. So 1, minus 3 is therefore equal to, if you take the midpoint of AB, it will be 4 plus x by 2. So it is 4 plus x by 2, the midpoint of the y coordinates will be negative 1 plus y by 2. So negative 1 plus y by 2. And therefore equating the x coordinates, I get 1 equals 4 plus x by 2 and negative 3 equals negative 1 plus y by 2. And therefore solving this equation, I get x equals negative 2. Right? The 2 goes here for cross multiplication and 4 goes for subtraction. And over here minus 6 is equal to minus 1 plus y, which means y equals minus 5. And therefore I can say that the coordinates of B are B of negative 2, negative 5. So I have used the midpoint formula over here. So I should mention that here. So O is the midpoint of AB. Therefore, using the midpoint formula, I was able to solve this particular question. So again, midpoint formula simply states that I can take the average of the two coordinates. The x coordinate of the midpoint is going to be the average of the x coordinates of the 2 points. And similarly, the y coordinate of the midpoint is also going to be the average of the y coordinates of the endpoints. So this is how I solve this particular question. Again, pausing for a couple of seconds before moving on to the next one. Moving on to the next question. Let's take up the following question. Find the length of the median passing through the vertex B of the given triangle. So let us draw the triangle. So we have the coordinates are A of 9, minus 2. So the vertex is A of 9, minus 2, B of minus 3, 7, and C of negative 1, 10. These are the vertices. And we want to find the length of the median passing through the vertex B. So the median is basically the line segment that joins the vertex of a triangle with the midpoint of the opposite side. So let M be the midpoint. Let M be the midpoint of side AC and hence I can say that BM is the median. BM is the median. So now using midpoint formula I can find the coordinates of M. So using midpoint formula I can say that the coordinates of M are, so for finding the coordinates of M I have to take the average of the two x coordinates and the y coordinates. So it is going to be 9 plus of minus 1 divided by 2 comma minus 2 plus 10 divided by 2, which is going to be 8 by 2, that's 4, and 8 by 2 is also 4. So I know that the coordinate of M is 4 comma 4. Now if I want to find the length of the median, so to find the length of the median, to find the length of BM, I definitely have to use the distance formula, right? So using distance formula, I get the length BM will be equal to square root of, so BM is going to be square root of minus 3 minus 4 the whole square plus 7 minus 4 the whole square. So if you recollect the distance formula, it is under root of x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square. And this is going to be 7 square is 49 plus 3 square is 9, and this is going to be root 58 units. Therefore, I can say that the length of median BM is therefore going to be under root 58 units. This is how I can find the answer. So again, the concepts used here were the midpoint formula and of course then the distance formula. The midpoint formula helped me find the midpoint, whereas the distance formula helped me find the distance. Moving on to the next question. So let's take a look at the following question. If these points A, B and C are the vertices of a triangle, find the length of the median AD passing through the vertex A. Also find the coordinates of the centroid. So let's consider the triangle A of 5, minus 1, B of negative 3, negative 2, C of negative 1, 8. And let us now draw a median that is passing through A. So let AD be the median. So AD is therefore the median and D is therefore the midpoint. So I will say let AD be the median. Let AD be the median of the triangle ABC passing through A. And therefore I can say that D is the midpoint. D is therefore the midpoint of the side BC, and therefore using midpoint formula I can find the coordinates of D. So what are the coordinates of D? The coordinates of D is going to be the average of the coordinates of B and C. So that's going to be minus 3 plus of minus 1 by 2, comma minus 2 plus 8 the whole divided by 2. And that is going to be minus 3 minus 1 is minus 4 by 2 is minus 2. And minus 2 plus 8 is 6 by 2 is 3, right? So the coordinate of the point D is going to be negative 2 comma 3. Now if we want to find the distance AD, so the length of AD can be found out using the distance formula. So the distance formula says it is 5 minus of minus 2 the whole square plus negative 1 negative 3 the whole square. And that is going to be under root of 5 plus 2 is 7 square plus negative 1 negative 3 is 4. So this is 4 square. And therefore this is going to be root of 49 plus 16, that is root of 65 units, right? Therefore the length of this median is going to be root 65 units. Now if I want to find the centroid, I know the formula for the centroid of a triangle. The centroid of the triangle was x1 plus x2 plus x3 by 3, comma y1 plus y2 plus y3 by 3. So if you think about it, the centroid is going to be 5 minus 3 minus 1 by 3. So I have taken the x coordinate of A, the x coordinate of B and x coordinate of C and added them and divided by 3. Comma, take the y coordinates, so negative 1, negative 2 plus 8 upon 3. And therefore the coordinates of the centroid, which is going to lie here, is going to be 5 minus 3 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. So this is 1 by 3, comma, this is going to be 5 by 3. So the coordinates of the centroid are 1 by 3, comma, 5 by 3. So in this particular question, I use the midpoint formula to find the midpoint of the side BC. Then I use the distance formula to find the length of the median. And then I use the formula for finding the centroid of a triangle. So pausing for a minute. Moving on to the next question. Let us solve these two questions now. The midpoint of the line segment joining A and B. So let me draw the figure. The point A is 2A, 4 and the point B is negative 2, 2B. The midpoint of this line is C of 1, 2A plus 1. We have to find the values of A and B. So because C is the midpoint, so since C is the midpoint, since given that C is the midpoint of AB, C is the midpoint of AB, I can use the midpoint formula. To say that the midpoint of AB is going to be 2A. So x coordinate of A is 2A, x coordinate of B is minus 2. So it's 2A minus 2 upon 2, comma, the y coordinate is 4, the y coordinate is 2B. So 4 plus 2B upon 2 this is equal to 1 comma 2a plus 1, and therefore I can say that 2a minus 2 upon 2 is equal to 1, which means I can solve this equation to get a value of a as 2. Hence a is equal to 2. Similarly, the y coordinate should be equal. So 4 plus 2b upon 2 should be equal to 2a plus 1. But wait, I found the value of a as 2. So this is going to be 4 plus 2b by 2. A is going to be 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. And now if you solve for b, the value of b will be equal to 3. So the value of a will be 2 and the value of b will be 3. This is how you find the values of a and b. Let us now solve the next question. The center of a circle is O of minus 1, 6 and one end of the diameter AB is 5, 9. So this particular point is center. Center is O of negative 1, 6. A is 5, 9. We want to find the coordinates of the other vertex. So let the point be of x, y. Right? These are the coordinates of point B. Therefore, since O is the center and AB is the diameter, I know that O is the midpoint of AB. O is the midpoint of AB, which means negative 1, the x coordinate of O, will be the average of the two x coordinates. That will be 5 plus x divided by 2, and 6, that is the y coordinate of the center, will be the average of the two y coordinates. That will be 9 plus y by 2. So solving these two equations, you will get x equals negative 7 and y equals 3. And therefore, the coordinate of B is negative 7, 3. The x coordinate is negative 7 and the y coordinate is 3. This is how I solve this particular question. Again, pausing for a minute while you take a look at both the solutions. Moving on to the next question. Let us consider the following question. It is given that these 4 points are the vertices of a parallelogram. So let us draw a parallelogram. We have to find the values of A and B. So what are the vertices? The vertex A is A of minus 2, minus 1. The vertex B is A, 0. The vertex C is 4, B. And the vertex D is 1, 2. Right? It is given that ABCD is a parallelogram. So ABCD is a parallelogram. So because this is a parallelogram, I know that the diagonals do bisect each other. Correct? So the diagonals will bisect each other. That means the midpoints of BD and midpoints of AC should be equal. So I can say that since ABCD is a parallelogram, diagonals AC and BD bisect each other. And this implies that O is the midpoint. So let's consider the diagonals meet at point O. So O is the midpoint of AC. O is the midpoint of AC as well as BD, right? So using the midpoint formula, for finding the midpoint of AC, So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to find the midpoint of AC. So the midpoint of AC is going to have coordinates -2 plus 4 by 2. I've taken the x coordinates of A and C and taken their average. And the y coordinate is going to be -1 plus b upon 2. So I've taken the average of the y coordinates also. Similarly, O is the midpoint of BD as well. So I can say that using midpoint formula, for finding the midpoint of BD, I can say that the midpoint of BD is also going to be O. So it is A plus 1 by 2. It is A plus 1 by 2, 0 plus 2 by 2, right? And therefore, in both cases, the x coordinate of O should be equal because we are talking about the same point, which means -2 plus 4 by 2 should be equal to A plus 1 by 2. And therefore, solving this equation, we get the value of A is 1. Similarly, -1 plus B by 2 is equal to 0 plus 2 by 2, which means the value of B should be equal to 3. And this is how we find the values of A and B. So because the given figure is a parallelogram and diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other, I can apply midpoint formula in this particular figure. And that really simplifies finding the unknown coordinates. Moving on to the next question. Let us consider the following question. If the line joining the points A and B, okay, so the line joining the points A of 4, -5, so A of 4, -5 and B of 4, 5 is divided by the point P, so there's a point P somewhere here, such that AP is to AB. So here be careful, it is AP is to AB, it is not AP is to PB. They have given AP is to AB is 2 is to 5. So what this means is, if K is the common ratio, I can consider AP as 2K and AB as 5K. Therefore, this particular length will be 2K and the whole length AB is given by 5K, right? And therefore, from this I can say that the length PB is going to be 5K minus 2K, which is 3k. And therefore I can say that from this figure, because the whole length is 5k and AP is 2k, that implies PB is 3k. Please note that in section formula we need AP is to PB and not AP is to AB. But because the ratio given is AP is to AB, I used this particular idea to find the ratio of AP is to PB. So I can say that therefore AP is to PB is going to be 2 is to 3, which means that P divides the join of A and B in the ratio 2 is to 3, right? So this is going to be 2 is to 3, and therefore using section formula, I can find the coordinates of P. So coordinates of P therefore are, so I can use the idea of cross multiplication. It's going to be 2 into 4. So you take 2 and multiply it with the x coordinate of B, plus take 3 and multiply it with the x coordinate of A. So 3 into 4 divided by 2 plus 3, comma, if I want to find the y coordinate, I will multiply 2 with the y coordinate of B, that is 2 multiplied by 5 plus 3 multiplied by minus 5, divided by 2 plus 3. And therefore, if you calculate this, this is going to be 8 plus 12, that's 20 upon 5, comma, 10 minus 15 is minus 5 upon 5. And therefore, this coordinate is going to be 4, comma, minus 1. Therefore, the coordinate of point P, is going to be 4, comma, minus 1. This is how I solve this particular question. So pausing for a minute, take a look at how it was done, and then we shall discuss the next question. The key over here is to notice that from AP is to AB, I was able to find AP is to PB. That is essential because the section formula talks about the coordinates when the particular point P divides the line segment AB into two sections, that is AP and PB. So finding the ratio AP is to PB is essential here. And once I find that ratio, then I use section formula to find the coordinates of P. So pausing for a minute before moving on to the next one. Moving on to the next question. So let's take a look at the following question. Find the lengths of the medians of the triangle formed by these points. So let us draw a triangle with these 3 points. So the coordinates are, the vertices are A of 7, minus 3, B of 5, 3 and C of 3, -1. Now I want to find the lengths of the median. So if I want to draw the median from A, I should first locate the midpoint of BC, let that be P. I should locate the midpoint of AC, let that be Q, and then I should locate the midpoint of AB, let that be R. So I can say that using midpoint formula, I can find the coordinate of P. So P is the midpoint of BC, so it is going to be 5 plus 3 divided by 2, 3 minus 1 divided by 2. Now 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 by 2 is 4 and 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 by 2 is 1. Therefore, the coordinate of P is going to be 4, 1. Similarly, let's use the midpoint formula to find the coordinates of Q and R. So using midpoint formula, the coordinates of Q would be, so Q is the midpoint of A and C. So I would take the average of the x coordinates. So it would be 7 plus 3 by 2 and minus 3 minus 1 by 2, which is essentially going to be 10 by 2 is 5 and negative 4 by 2 is negative 2. Therefore, the coordinate of point Q is 5, minus 2. Similarly, I can find the midpoint R. So using midpoint formula, the coordinates of R would be, so R is the midpoint of AC, so that's going to be 7 plus 5 by 2, minus 3 plus 3 by 2, and that is going to be 12 by 2 is 6, 0. Therefore, the coordinate of point R is going to be 6, 0. Now, if I want to find the distance AP, right, I can use distance formula. So the distance AP therefore is going to be using distance formula. If you remember the distance formula, it was under root of x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square. Of course, taking y1 minus y2 also doesn't matter. So using distance formula, the length AP will be under root of 7 minus 4 the whole square plus negative 3 negative 1 the whole square. The distance BQ, so let us draw BQ. So the distance BQ is going to be the second median, and that is going to be under root of, so I have to take coordinates of B and Q. So it is 5 minus 5 the whole square plus 3 minus of minus 2 the whole square, and the distance CR, so I can also join the median or draw the median CR by joining C and R. So the distance CR is therefore going to be, under root of 6 minus 3 the whole square plus 0 minus of minus 1 the whole square. So now I can evaluate each of these. This is 3 square is 9 and negative 4 square is 16. So 9 plus 16 is 25, which means this is 5 units. Similarly, this is under root of 5 minus 5 is 0 and 3 plus 2 square is 5 square is 25. So this is also going to be 5 units. And this is going to be under root of 6 minus 3 is 3, 3 square is 9 and 9 plus 1 square is 10. So this is going to be root 10 units. Therefore, the three medians, the median AP is going to be 5 units. The median BQ is also going to be 5 units. And the median CR is going to be root 10 units, right? This is how I can find the three different medians of this triangle. So we conclude our today's session over here. I hope you understood the different problems that we took that were based on section formula, then the formula for centroid of a triangle, and of course the midpoint formula. So pausing for a minute and ending today's session over here. concluding today's session here.